This is Parrish with Coffee Break. I know many of you are still in the recovery period of Hurricane Ike, and I know it has been not only traumatic, inconvenient, as well as a financial loss for many people from as far as the Gulf Coast region of Texas, as far as Ohio. However, there's a reason for everything, and of course, in this case, it was a natural disaster which man has no control of. Yes, the few days before, they gave the warning that there was going to be a Category 3, possibly a 2 hurricane, and then they had different cities evacuating. Originally, as you know, the report was that it was going to hit Corpus Christi. So most of us, including myself, thought it was going to, just blow over Houston or Galveston area. And then the next report was that it was going to actually hit Galveston. Of course, Galveston is just down the highway from Houston, so naturally we'll get whatever Galveston get. And in this case, Houston didn't get the water like Galveston did, but we did get our power outage. We had power lines down. People were going weeks without power, including myself. I think I went about 12 to 13 days without any electric. And of course, we had FEMA to come in to render aid. They had the PODs. They were giving out the ice and the water and the MREs, which was very helpful. I had I think I went on a whole week on eating that. Due to the fact between work and not being able to get to the stores, and not only that, getting in the long lines to get gas. So I thank God for that. It was definitely a much needed item, and for the most part, my experiences during that ordeal was it may have it went pretty smoothly. I didn't have any encounters with anyone, and people were pretty much cooperative and patient, and so thank God we made it through that. But my question with you today is, can we really escape a natural disaster, or in spiritual text, can we really escape the wrath of God? And I know this is not really a popular subject to speak on, but it's just something that we need to remind people, because what seems to happen with us is that every time we come out of a crisis, or even a natural disaster like a hurricane, or 911, which wasn't a natural disaster, that was something created by man, for a short period we tend to acknowledge God, we tend to help our fellow man and things of that nature, but it shouldn't take a natural disaster or attack with one of our enemies from another country to bring us to bring out this togetherness. Thank God that we do have that sense of charity or goodwill, in a time of someone's need. So, but it's just time is. I mean, God is just showing us every day through the media, through the actual disaster, or just things that just happen that we can't even explain. That we need to evaluate our own lifestyle, and to fellowship with Him more, and recognize that He is the one and only being that created life, and He can destroy life as well. And the text that I want to read out of is Zephaniah chapter 1, verses 14 through 18. The day of wrath. The great day of the Lord is near. It is near, and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. The day is a day of wrath, and a day of trouble and distress, a day of weakness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, and I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. A couple of years ago, there was a movie that came out. It was titled The Day After. It was depicted the day of a nuclear war. You know, if a nuclear warhead has stricken, a certain part of America, what would happen? And in this movie, people were trying to get away, and then all of a sudden, when the nuclear warhead was released, you just had, everything, the world just seemed to have stopped. People just, whatever they were doing, they was trying to escape, travesty, and they just couldn't. People was running amok and running into each other, falling in, ditches, and just all kinds of, accidents had happened as a result of people trying to flee, and was unavoidable. And I think about that movie, and how we would really react if we knew, if God had given us a warning that on such and such a day, I'm going to bring my wrath upon the earth, and upon man, not earth. It's not earth that he's upset with, it's man that he's upset with. So if we were forewarned about this, what would we do? What would I do? I would, try to bring as many people to the Lord as I can. Whatever areas that I know that I need God to deliver me from, I'll first make sure I'm delivered from those areas. Then I'll go and try to bring more people into the kingdom, because I don't want to just, it's a commission that we're supposed to go out and share the love of God with people, and tell about his goodness and how good he is to us. And by doing that alone, that testimony, then people will be more likely to come to the Lord again. And that's what I'll try to do. And as a matter of fact, it was kind of interesting. A couple of years ago, when Miami was going through a series of hurricanes, I had planned a retreat up there, and I got caught in one of those hurricanes. And I said, well, Lord, this is the opportunity for me to go and try to save some folks, save some people. But when I got on the corner and it was still a little windy, I had my little pocket Bible, and the Lord said, no, this ain't the time. And I was shocked, because, I said, well, Lord, I want to do something for you. I want to bring somebody into the kingdom of God. And if it's going to take a hurricane for that to happen, so be it. But anyway, that didn't happen, and not on that trip. So anyway, back to the scripture, says the great day of the Lord is near, and it is near, and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. And when this time does happen, people are going to be, just running amok, just crying and praying, and even some people are going to be cussing and, trying to, flee, this area that was supposed to be hit. But the reality is that when the Lord is and it has something to do with it, there's not much we can do. Just really repent. That day is a day of wrath and a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. So it's telling you here, that it's just going to be a gloomy and dark day, and the clouds are going to be dark and gloomy and thick, and it's just going to be a lot of distresses going on when this day happens. And it will be a day that the trumpet and the alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. So it's saying no matter what kind of protection we have on these great cities, that when the Lord is ready to penetrate it, He will. I mean, that just He's God. He can do anything. And and no matter how high the towers are, when God can penetrate that. There's nothing that God cannot penetrate. And I will bring distress upon men, and that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as dung. So it's telling you that their blood should be poured out as dust. So that's I know this is not a pleasant topic, but it's something that needs to be discussed. Again, like I said, back in 911, people were just, helping each other, even, some type, even there was a time somewhat of racial unity. The country came together, and we should be together at all times. But I know that's not the nature of man. Being one, the man has a competitive spirit from one, and man has a selfish nature. So it's not something that we're gonna just automatically do. When everything's going all right in our lives. Now we're faced with now the government has officially declared that we're going into a recession. And so now, we faced with, with that. We've been facing with it, we've been aware of, but now the government is officially saying, yes, we are in a recession. And people, are getting homes foreclosed. And so now they try to bail out, these, big mortgage companies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and spending billions of dollars to do this. And yet, that can't even save us when the day of God's wrath comes. No matter how much money we can put into it, when this day happens, it's all about the heart. Have you proven that you love God? Have you worked diligently, to please Him? Have you helped your fellow man? Someone that's homeless, someone that, even a drug addict, he needs help, she needs help. Have you reached out to those people? Because the Bible said, what you do unto the least of them, you do unto me as well. So, our bank accounts, cannot save us from this day. And then the next verse talks about that. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of His jealousy. For He shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. And it's saying here that, He's going to just, when His wrath hit, a lot a lot of people are going to die, you know, and that's the reality of it. And last night I was watching Jimmy Kimmel, and Bill Murray was on there talking about he don't believe in religion, and his movie is kind of making a mockery of religion, and I think he's really confused, you know, and then the saddest part that the audience was applauding him, you know, and I mean that's how the enemy is trying to creep into our society. He's already in it, and he's just, you know, lining people up in position to poison our minds, you know, that he's in control, you know, he's the one that's in power, which he's not. God has given Satan, he's the prince of this world, so God give him, and God has given him the power, and he can also take those powers away, which is why in Revelation it talks about that, you know. For 1,000 years he would be locked up in the pit, in the pit, and for 1,000 years, you know, God's people will reign and prosper, and souls will be saved, and then when that 1,000 years is up, then he will be unlocked. He will be released from the bottomless pit, and then his final job is to bring more havoc on this earth. But you know, God is allowing this to happen. You know, and you know, not everybody is going to make it in heaven. You know, I would like to say we all going to make it in heaven, but I'm trying to, you know, get my life, keep my life, you know, in order, and you know, do what God has called me to do, and you know, be an example to you know, my family and loved ones, and you know, mainly just to please God. You know, and that's a 24/7 job. You know, a lot of times we go to sleep on that job, but you know, it's something you can't never get enough of God, and that's why God is upset. You know, we allow our so-called success interfere with our spiritual walk, and so God is upset about that. So when these hurricanes happen, and thank God only 51 lives, you know, were claimed by Hurricane Ike that we know of, and I mean, a few years ago, Katrina Rita, you know, hit New Orleans, and you know, there was several hundred lives that were taken during that hurricane. But you know, New Orleans they rebuilt. You know, there wasn't enough. It was, you know, it was somewhat a man error that caused that, but God also had control of that. You know, and He allowed things to happen for a reason. And then a few years before that, 911, you know, which, you know, the whole world was in shock to see something like 911 happening in America. So it's time to wake up, everyone, and you know, it's time is drawing near. You know, a lot of times, you know, I was telling a friend of mine that a minister don't like to share these kind of messages because you know, it's a time when people do want hope, and there is hope for tomorrow. I think with the phase that we're going in now is that now, even though the stock market is falling, and you know, and the government has to come and bail out these major mortgage companies and insurance companies, but the people of God, you know, you secure. You know, they talk about increasing the FDIC, you know, insurance up to $250,000. But when you bank with God, you know, you don't have no limit to what the account will be insured for. You know, it's limited because God is controlled. You know, He owns it all and belongs to Him and His people, His family, and we are a part of that family. And if we're part of that family, we're supposed to reap the benefits. But when we get blessed and prosper, we have to turn around and bless others. You know, people that are in third world countries, you know, like Africa and Brazil and China, you know, China in certain parts of China. But, you know, we need to reach out and continue to reach out, and help those, not necessarily through means of war, taking over certain military regimes. I mean, that's not the case, that's not the answer in all cases, But we need to, get focused and just, realize that, when that time comes, we want to be doing something pleasing the Lord. We don't want to be doing things that just adding to corruption. We want to do things that's gonna, we want to plant good seeds. And when it's time to reap those benefits, then we will have good fruits. So that's why the Lord taking me to this passage. So just stay focused on what the Lord wants you to do. Don't let family, friends, co-workers, enemies, if you have any, to get in the way what God has called you to do. You just got to stay focused and go for it no matter what. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. And remember to take one day and one victory at a time. God bless.